black men are supposed to have this one specific type of role in society. They're supposed to either be this aggressive person, which causes them to go to jail, or not necessarily be like they're prominent in society.
They said I'll inherit the earth one day, so no one could know I was weak. Because men like us don't cry.
One particular type of issue that I wanted to address in Black Boys Don't Cry was the issue of colorism. I feel as though the darker that you are, the more kind of like you were seen as this more aggressive, more kind of like emotionally unavailable person. Whereas I feel as though it was kind of seen that the light-skinned men were seen as these emotionally available, very fluid, very kind of like almost feminine. They were able to showcase their emotions. Being quite a dark-skinned man myself, I feel it's important to understand that you incredibly are vulnerable at times. And I really wanted to discuss that through a visual. I use kind of models from all different types of backgrounds, colours, albinos or mixed race men, light-skinned men, dark-skinned men. I wanted to include them because I wanted people understand that they're also a part of this kind of like group. I didn't necessarily fit into the whole kind of like university hierarchy and structure. I wasn't that kind of like guy that wore those like All Saints t-shirts and, you know, skinny jeans and kind of like was this cool guy. All these people tell you that you're supposed to be this, X, Y, and Z, you're supposed to wear this, you're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to act like this. It was really interesting because growing up, I never felt that I had to conform to any form of ideology, but I felt that so many people didn't have that same kind of like upbringing. When I was young, I was allowed to cry, I was allowed to be emotional, I was allowed to do all these kind of things. And it did allow me to be incredibly expressive and show my emotions in the most authentic way and genuine ways, so that I don't necessarily have to like almost deal with them when I'm older. So it's interesting growing up in that kind of dynamic and having to almost change the dynamic when you're in university. A lot of people kind of spoke to me about the idea of masculinity and how they felt they had to be these kind of like dominant figures in society, how they weren't supposed to cry, they weren't supposed to show emotion. I think loads of people, especially the younger generation, are understanding that they're multifaceted, and I feel like the landscape for men and masculinity is completely changing. Well, I guess a 21st century man, I feel like you have to be this guy who's strong in kind of like build, but also strong in mindset, especially within the black community. We're always told that, you know, if someone hits you, you hit them back. When I was kind of creating Black Boys Don't Cry, I didn't want it to be a generalization as to what the landscape is for masculinity in general, for males. I wanted to say something which was, in particular, very true to myself, and I understood 100%. And so I feel as though I wanted to write something for black men because I knew deep down they were most affected by this kind of like framework as to how you're supposed to be. Because largely these things never get spoken about in black families, in black communities.
Men like us are the chosen ones. I mean, why do you think Adam was created in the first place? To cook whilst Eve fetched wood and made fires? No.
I wanted to kind of like show this biblical side to it, as if like it was written kind of like that men are supposed to be a certain way and that women are supposed to be in a certain way. And I feel as though those kind of like biblical or ancient kind of ideas as to how people are supposed to behave and act are just basically redundant now in this 21st century. I feel as though a lot more people are being more free and being authentic and are being kind of like emotionally available and being kind of fluid within their kind of like gender, within their sexuality, within all their the ways in which they kind of like live throughout the world. And I think that's really amazing. It's definitely better for people to express themselves as opposed to harboring emotion. I feel as though that's really important to like self-growth and development, and people will be better if they feel much more free, and they don't necessarily feel as though they have to be in the constraints of masculinity or sexuality and gender and things like that. People are embracing and celebrating the idea of sexuality in the 21st century.